Hands on your head now." The voice echoed across the marble-floored lobby like a gunshot, slicing through the stillness of luxury like it didn't belong there. Davi froze in place, breath caught in his throat, the sealed envelope still clutched in his hand. His sneakers squeaked softly against the spotless floor as 3 security guards closed in on him, hands twitching near their holsters, eyes locked with the same look he'd seen too many times. Not curiosity, suspicion. He tried to speak. "I'm just my dad. He asked me to deliver this." "Down on your knees," one of them barked, cutting him off. Another stepped forward and grabbed his wrist like he was defusing a bomb. Davi's heart hammered in his chest. He was only 16. Dressed in a black t-shirt and jeans, with a school backpack slung over one shoulder, but none of that mattered here. The luxurious entrance of the Aurora Heights, one of the most expensive buildings in the city, didn't recognize boys like him as messengers. It saw them as threats. A woman in high heels whispered behind her phone while glancing at him. "There's a kid here. I think he tried to sneak in." Another voice chimed in, "Probably just checking the place before a robbery." Davi heard it all. He always did. But this time, it stung deeper. Only minutes earlier, he had stepped through the rotating doors on a favor for his father, Sue Elias, the night shift doorman who rarely asked for anything. "Davi," he'd said over the phone just 20 minutes ago, "could you do me a huge favor, son? There's an envelope I forgot to deliver to Mr. Honorio in 1702. It's urgent. I trust you." That's all it was. But now, Davi found himself kneeling on expensive marble, under fluorescent lights that made everything look colder than it already felt. The lead guard, tall and pale with a trimmed goatee, was barking orders into a walkie-talkie. "Unidentified male. Possibly attempting unauthorized entry. Notify local PD." "What?" Davi protested, eyes wide. "I didn't break in. My dad works here." "I'm delivering something." The guard crouched down to meet his eyes. His tone dripped with sarcasm. "Sure you are. And I'm the president's nephew." Then snap, the envelope slipped slightly from Davi's grasp. A small silver USB stick clattered onto the polished floor. Everyone's attention snapped to it. The guard stood slowly, eyes narrowed. "What's this?" Davi blinked. I didn't know that was in there." He hadn't opened the envelope. His father didn't say anything about a flash drive. But now the tension changed shape. The USB stick lay between them like a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. One of the other guards bent to pick it up when, "What the hell is going on here?" The voice came sharp and fast from the sliding doors. It was Rosa, the elderly morning shift doorman, already halfway into the lobby with her purse clutched tight. "That's Davi. He's Elias's son." The goateed guard stiffened. The others looked at each other. Rosa marched forward. "I saw him grow up, for Christ's sake. What are y'all doing?" Davi exhaled, but the relief was short-lived. The guard hesitated, then lifted the walkie again. "Disregard, but keep PD en route. Might be a misunderstanding, or not." Rosa's face twisted in disbelief. "Or not? Are you serious right now?" Davi stood slowly, his hands still raised halfway. "I didn't do anything wrong." The goateed guard didn't reply. He just looked at the USB drive in his palm, then at Davi, then back at the drive again, like something wasn't adding up. A new tension took over. Silent. Thick. Something had shifted in the air. "What's in that drive?" One of the younger guards muttered. No one answered. Because none of them knew. But up on the 17th floor, the apartment Davi was supposed to deliver to was now sealed with crime scene tape. And Mr. Honorio, the man who gave the envelope to Elias just last night, had been found dead in his apartment that very morning. But no one had told Davi that. Not yet. So why was that USB stick in the envelope? Why had Mr. Honorio insisted it be delivered so urgently, quietly, just hours after his death? And who else, in that building, knew it existed? A faint beep echoed from behind the security desk. A camera feed going offline. Just the one pointed at the 17th floor. Who shut it down, and why? Because someone upstairs was already watching. And they weren't going to let Davy leave that lobby alive with what he was holding, not without a fight. The USB drive was still warm in the guard's hand when the building's concierge system let out a soft chime barely audible, but unmistakable. Camera 17B. Offline, the monitor whispered. No one moved. Not Davy, not Rosa, not the security team. But someone had noticed. Upstairs, behind a tinted window on the 14th floor, a man in a charcoal suit stepped away from the glass and picked up a secure line. His voice was low and deliberate. He found it. Protocol shift. Shut it down before it spreads. Back in the lobby, Davy was now standing, but surrounded. The lead guard goatee still perfectly intact, despite the growing sweat on his brow tightened his grip on the USB. "I'll take this," he muttered. "No, you won't," Rosa shot back, stepping forward like a lioness. "That belongs to Mr. Honorio." And that boy was told to deliver it. The name hit the room like a thunderclap. Mr. Honorio. Silence fell. "You didn't hear?" the younger guard asked. "That guy's died this morning, alone," Davy blinked. "Wait, what? But my dad saw him last night." "Dead," the goatee confirmed, eyes locked on Davy. "And now his envelope ends up here with you, and this thing inside." Davy's voice dropped. "What's on that USB?" No one answered, because no one knew. And none of them wanted to be the one to find out. Rosa turned to Davy. "Come with me." The guard started to protest, but she raised a hand like she ran the place. "Unless you want to explain to Elias why his son was treated like a criminal for doing what his father asked, I suggest you step back." It worked, mostly. The youngest guard moved aside. The other two hesitated, but the goatee man didn't move. "Fine," he said coldly, "but that drive stays here." Davy looked him straight in the eye. "You don't even know what it is." "I don't need to," he replied, "but someone will." He stepped back and whispered something into his radio. Davy and Rosa walked quickly through the lobby, down the service corridor that led to the staff elevator. As the doors slid shut, Rosa pressed the emergency stop button halfway up. "Listen to me, Davy. You're in something way bigger than you realize. What was Mr. Honorio into?" She looked at him, really looked. "I don't know. But I do know this. He only ever spoke to your father. Nobody else. Not even the building manager. That man had money, power. But he trusted Elias. That should tell you something." The lights flickered for a second. Davy clutched the envelope again, now minus the USB. "Why would he give this to my dad?" Rosa shook her head. "Maybe because he knew your dad wouldn't look, wouldn't snoop. But you? You're different." She was right. Davy had always been curious. Always wanted to know how things worked, why people did what they did. That curiosity was a blessing and a curse. The elevator restarted. They got off on the staff-only records floor. Dusty, forgotten, filled with cabinets no one opened anymore. Rosa pointed to a drawer labeled 1702, Honorio. "Start there." Davy opened it. Inside were maintenance requests, a copy of his lease agreement, and a sealed envelope marked with red ink, private to be opened only in case of emergency. He opened it anyway. Inside was a printed letter, typed, dated 3 months ago. It was short. "If anything happens to me, the drive will find its way back to someone trustworthy. The contents cannot fall into their hands. They are watching. Trust no one, except the boy. He sees what others don't." Davy's hands trembled. The boy. Who was they? What did they want? And what, exactly, was inside that drive? Then his phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Give us the drive back, or your father pays the price." He froze. Rosa leaned in. "What is it?" Davy couldn't speak. Another buzz. Same number, this time a photo. His dad, inside the building's break room, blindfolded. That USB wasn't just a mystery anymore. It was a threat, and someone inside Aurora Heights had just declared war. Davi stared at the screen, pulse racing. The photo didn't lie. His father, blindfolded, head down, arms tied behind the chair. Somewhere inside the same building he'd worked in for over 10 years, Aurora Heights. He swallowed hard, knuckles whitening around the phone. Rosa hovered behind him, reading the message over his shoulder. "Give us the drive back, or your father pays the price." Davi's voice cracked. "They have him." "Rosa, they took my dad." She didn't speak right away. Her hand trembled slightly as she grabbed the phone. "We need to call the police." "No," Davi said quickly, snatching it back. "What if they're in on it?" Rosa opened her mouth, then closed it again. That thought shouldn't have made sense, but deep down it did. Something about the way the goatee guard whispered into the radio, the silence on the 17th floor, the sudden blackout on the security feed. It all added up to one word: setup. But who was setting who up? Downstairs, the building's lobby had returned to its cold, calculated stillness. No more shouting, no more tension in the air. Just expensive silence and the scent of overpriced diffuser sticks. The USB drive was gone. So was any trace that Davi had ever been there. At least, that's what they wanted. Because in the guard room, hidden behind a locked office labeled operations, something else was happening. A man in a navy blue suit sat before a screen, typing rapidly. He didn't wear a name tag, didn't speak, just worked. And on the screen was a report, freshly dated. Incident report. Unauthorized entry, minor male suspect time, 14:04 description. Suspect attempted to access resident floors without authorization. Security intervention required. Individual resisted. Property damage. One broken tablet, scuffed flooring near service elevator. Outcome: suspect detained and released with warning. The man leaned back, satisfied. Then added the most dangerous part of all. Video footage attached, edited for clarity. He uploaded a security clip. It showed Davi standing near the service door. Then cut suddenly to him bolting toward the elevator. Then cut again to the guards wrestling him to the ground. What it didn't show: the USB, the envelope, the part where Rosa defended him. Or that Davi never ran at all. The footage was a lie, a weapon. And it had just been emailed to someone very important. Valentina Mura, building manager, Aurora Heights Board of Directors upstairs. In a suite filled with antique furniture and custom chandeliers, Valentina clicked the video open. She watched it once, then again. Then she picked up her phone and made a single call. "He has the drive. We need to handle it quietly. I'll make sure the report covers us. And I want that kid's name erased from the system. He never entered this building." Meanwhile, Davi and Rosa had moved to a locked janitor's closet in the basement, the only place without cameras. Rosa's hands shook as she dialed Elias's number again, straight to voicemail. Davi sat on an overturned mop bucket, staring at the floor. "They're rewriting what happened," he said quietly. "They're going to say I broke in, that I attacked them." Rosa looked at him. "How do you know?" "Because I would. If I were them." He pulled his phone again and tapped open an app he'd hidden in a folder labeled Math Homework. Live camera backup feed. The same feed he'd mirrored to his phone without even thinking, just before the guards moved in. He'd been filming the moment he was taken down. Rosa gasped as she watched it. "This changes everything." "Yeah," Davi muttered, eyes narrowing. "If we can show this, if we can prove they lied, we can make them fall." But a new message appeared on his screen before he could finish the thought. "Unknown sender. We see everything. Delete it now, or we'll make sure your father never sees daylight again." Davi stood, phone in hand, mind racing. He had footage that could expose the lie. He had the letter from Mr. Honorio. He had the encrypted pen drive. But they had his father, and they had power. So what now? Delete the truth to save the only family he had left? or go public and risk losing everything. Outside the janitor's closet, footsteps approached slowly. He recognized the rhythm of one of them, the goatee guard. But the second pair was unfamiliar. Then, a knock on the door. 2 knocks. Pause. 1 knock. A code. Rosa stepped back, heart pounding. "Who is it?" A voice came from behind the door. Calm, controlled. "We know what you have, and we're not here to stop you. We're here to help you burn it all down." But Davi didn't recognize the voice, and neither did Rosa. So who were they? And how did they know about the drive? The door handle began to turn. The door creaked open. Davi stepped back instinctively, shielding Rosa with one arm. The fluorescent light from the corridor spilled into the janitor's closet like a spotlight, and 2 shadows emerged from the hallway. The first figure was a woman, tall, black, wearing a plain blazer and jeans with a press badge clipped to her belt. Her eyes scanned the room quickly, like she was trained to evaluate danger. The second was a young man, barely older than Davi, dressed like any other delivery guy, except his posture said otherwise: calm, alert, prepared. Rosa narrowed her eyes. "Who the hell are you?" The woman raised both hands. "Name's Camila Arroyo. I'm a journalist, but not the kind that writes about celebrities or real estate launches." She stepped fully inside and closed the door behind her. "I investigate corruption, corporate, government, institutional racism. The things the news avoids until it's too big to ignore." Davi blinked. "How do you know about the drive?" Camila smiled faintly. "Because I've been following Mr. Honorio for months." "That name again." Camila pulled out her phone and showed a photo. Mr. Honorio standing beside a younger version of Davi's father, Elias, laughing on a rooftop, champagne in hand. "They were friends?" Davi asked. Camila nodded. "More than friends. Your dad saved his life once, years ago, when someone tried to poison a deal Honorio was exposing. Since then, he trusted your father more than his lawyers." She paused. "And now he's dead. But the files he was trying to protect, they're still alive." On that USB, Davi tightened his grip on his phone. "So what's on it?" "I haven't seen it," Camila admitted. "But if Honorio was right, it's a digital copy of decades of backdoor transactions. Bribes, contracts signed by ghosts, even ties to members of the judiciary. He called it the skeleton ledger." Rosa raised an eyebrow. "Why not release it yourself?" Camila looked directly at Davi. "Because it wasn't meant for me." Davi felt his stomach drop. "You think he chose me?" Camila nodded. "He didn't trust the press. He didn't trust politicians. But a boy? The son of the only man he knew would never sell his soul? That was a safe bet." Davi sat down again, overwhelmed. "So now what? I go on the internet and post everything? Put my face on the evening news?" Camila crouched beside him. "You could. But if you do, your father dies before the video even finishes uploading." A heavy silence settled between them. Davi clenched his fists. "They already made the report," said the first to attack the guards. "They faked it all. And they'll keep going," Camila said. "Because boys like you, you're not supposed to have a voice. You're supposed to disappear quietly." Her voice softened. "But what if this time the voice fights back?" She stood up, turned to the young man beside her. "This is Jairo. He's a coder, former hacker, reformed, kind of." Jairo offered a crooked smile. "I can decrypt the drive. But once we open it, it sends a signal. Someone out there will know we accessed it." Davi looked between them. "Then let's open it somewhere else." "We can't," Jairo said. "It's location locked. The encryption is bound to the building's signal. It was designed to be exposed here. The scandal has to be traced to Aurora Heights." Camila stepped closer. "You have a decision to make, Davi. We can ghost, disappear, pretend we never found it, or we blow this wide open. But once we do, there's no going back." The phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "You're running out of time. Choose wisely." Rosa suddenly remembered something. Wait, your dad. He had a journal, kept it hidden behind the fuse box in the basement locker. Always wrote things down when he didn't trust the system. Davi's heart skipped. They rushed to the locker room, Hyro disabling cameras with his pocket device as they moved. Behind the dusty panel, exactly where she said, a torn notebook lay hidden. Inside, scribbled in Elias's rough handwriting, "If they ever come for me, the truth is in the light above the lies. 1702 holds the key. Don't trust anyone. Not even the board." Hyro frowned. "Light above the lies?" Camilla whispered. 1702. It wasn't just Honorio's apartment. It was the center of all of it. Davi looked up. A ceiling panel in the hallway flickered once. Hyro saw it too. That's not just a light. It's a signal relay. Camilla turned to Davi, breath caught in her throat. "You still have his old access card?" Davi pulled it from his pocket. "Let's go upstairs." But just as they turned the corner, a red dot appeared on the wall beside Davi's head. Laser. Sniper. Someone was watching. Camilla shouted, "Down!" The shot never came, but the warning was clear. They were running out of time, and 1702 was waiting. The hallway outside 1702 was dead silent, too silent. Camilla reached out, slowly waving her phone in front of the apartment door, checking for surveillance or motion sensors. Hyro crouched near the control panel beside the doorframe, already prying off the cover to reveal a nest of wires. Davi stood still, not from fear, but from something heavier anticipation. Every step closer to that apartment felt like walking through wet cement. Each movement pulled more weight with it. Not just danger, not just secrets, legacy, and something even harder to carry, choice. Hyro whistled low. "This door isn't just locked. It's sealed, deadbolt override, biometric backup. This is CIL-level stuff." Honorio was no ordinary resident, Camilla murmured. Davi pulled the old keycard from his pocket, the one his father had handed him months ago, jokingly. "Just in case," he'd said. "Never know when you'll need to clean something up top." At the time, it felt like a small favor. Now it felt like prophecy. He slid the card. Beep. A soft click. The lock disengaged. The apartment opened into darkness. Thick blackout curtains hid the skyline. The air smelled like cedar and dust. Nothing had been touched since Honorio's death. They stepped inside. There were no photos, no books. Just a desk in the middle of the room, spotlighted by a single pendant light. And on that desk, like it had been waiting, was a second USB drive, identical to the one Davi had carried. Hyro rushed over. A decoy? No, a backup. Camilla's fingers brushed over a small file folder beside it. She flipped it open. Inside, a birth certificate. Davi stepped closer, confused. His name, but not his father's. The listed mother, Ana Beatriz Ferreira. He blinked. "That's not my mom." Camilla looked at him, then at the paper again. Her eyes widened. "It is." "What?" "No. My mom left when I was 2. She vanished. My dad said she was a waitress, that she got scared of raising a kid. He never talked about her again." Camilla nodded slowly. "Ana Beatriz Ferreira isn't just anyone. She's a former federal agent, deep cover for over a decade. Went missing after whistleblowing on a weapons laundering ring." Davi's mouth went dry. "You're telling me my mom was what, a spy?" "She was one of the best," Camilla said. "And if I had to guess, she didn't leave. She went underground." As if summoned by the truth itself, the apartment phone rang. All of them froze. No one had touched it. The ancient landline blinked red. Incoming call. No name. No number. Davi answered. "Hello?" A woman's voice. Calm. Measured. Familiar in a way that sent chills down his spine. "Davi." He couldn't speak. "It's me." "Your mother." The world shrank. Camilla's eyes shot wide. Hyro froze. Davi whispered, "Where are you?" "You're in danger," she said quickly. "You were never supposed to be involved." They were watching Honorio. They were watching Elias. But when you touched that drive, everything changed. "You know about the drive?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I encrypted it," she said, "with Honorio. Years ago, we knew we were running out of time. We knew the board was bigger than just this building." "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked. "Why did you leave me?" Silence. "Then, because if they knew who you were, you'd already be dead." Davi turned away, jaw clenched, tears threatening to surface. "I'm coming for you," she said. "And when I do, we finish what Honorio started. But you need to survive until then. Hide the drive. Trust no one." The line went dead. Camila stepped forward. "We need to move." Suddenly, the building's fire alarm shrieked to life, echoing through the walls. But there was no fire. The lights cut out. Jairo swore under his breath. "They're not trying to evacuate us. They're flushing us out." Camila rushed to the balcony door, threw it open. Across the street, a black SUV was parked awkwardly on the curb. A man stepped out, then another. Davi didn't recognize them. But Camila did. Private security, not cops, not military. "These guys are ghosts." Jairo grabbed both USBs and stuffed them in his jacket. "Where do we go?" Davi turned to the elevator, but the power outage had disabled it. Camila reached into her coat and pulled out a folded maintenance map of the building. She pointed to a small shaft near the trash chute. "There's a crawl space down to the basement. Not meant for humans, but we're out of time," Davi said. As they pushed open the hidden panel and ducked inside, Camila whispered, almost to herself, "They think you're just a boy, but they have no idea whose son you really are." And just before the panel shut behind them, a voice echoed through the apartment intercom, deep, mechanical. "We warned you. Now we take everything." The apartment exploded into red light. Lockdown activated. They were sealed inside a building that had turned against them. And someone else had just entered 1702 from the other side. Someone who knew the building better than all of them. But was it friend or executioner? The crawl space was dark, narrow, and suffocating, lined with copper pipes and thick insulation that made every breath taste like metal. Davi moved first, gripping a flashlight with one hand, the other clutching the USB drives in Jairo's jacket. Behind him, Camila whispered directions, and Jairo kept watch for any motion from behind. The silence wasn't just physical anymore. It was strategic, intentional. Whoever had activated the lockdown didn't want them dead. Not yet. They wanted them cornered. That meant they were being studied. Davi's voice echoed softly through the duct. "Why would someone go this far just to hide a few files?" Camila's reply was a murmur. "Because they don't just own this building. They own what happens when people speak." They emerged through a maintenance hatch behind the boiler room. It was hot and dim, the pipes hissing like snakes. As Jairo helped them through, he checked his phone. "Signals jammed," he muttered. Not just blocked, jammed, with military-grade interference. Camila pulled out a small device, one of Jairo's earlier inventions. A scrambled hotspot designed for emergencies. She flicked it on and nodded. Brief window, no more than 5 minutes. "Let's see what's inside that drive." Davi handed it over with a deep breath. "If this gets my dad hurt," Camila looked at him gently, "we're going to get him back." Jairo plugged the drive into his tablet. The screen went black for a second. Then green code exploded across it like digital rainfall. Lines, folders, hundreds, bank transactions, offshore account numbers, audio files, PDF contracts, emails between shell corporations and major political figures. Camila's mouth dropped open. They weren't just bribing judges. They were laundering public funds through housing projects, some of which don't even exist. Jairo clicked a folder marked Internal Aurora Board. Inside, a spreadsheet of names, people, titles, investments. Valentina Moura, Chairwoman, Logistics Oversight, Enrique Toledo. Internal Security, Marcos Labor, Silent Partner. 38%. Stakeholder, Ana Beatriz Ferreira. Status, compromised, exile mode activated. Camila's hand flew to her mouth. They knew about your mother. They had her flagged. That's why she disappeared. Davi pointed. Wait, that name. Marcos Labor. I've seen that name before. He turned to Rosa, who had just joined them in the boiler room after rerouting the backup power to slow the lockdown. Rosa, remember that guy who visited Mr. Honorio 2 weeks ago? Tall beard, always wore gloves. Her eyes widened. Labor, that's him. Jairo double-tapped a side folder. Surveillance footage. Internal. From the building's private elevator feed one. The staff didn't even know existed. They watched a looped clip. Labor stepping into the elevator with Honorio. Then the screen glitched. Labor stepping out of the elevator alone. Camila's voice was barely a whisper. He killed him. Rosa sat down. My God, Davi shook his head. How does someone like that just live in a building like this, with normal people? They're not living here, Camila said. They own here. This building is their headquarters. Aurora Heights isn't just a name, it's a cover. Every floor is a front. Every document, every camera, every elevator. Monitored, controlled. And the residents? Jairo asked. Most don't know. But the ones who do, they get benefits. Silence is bought. Loyalty is cheaper than conscience. Suddenly, the boiler door slammed open. Goatee guard, gun raised. Eyes locked on Davi. I told them you'd be trouble. Behind him 3 others, all armed. Tactical vests, radio earpieces. Camila moved fast, pushed Davi behind a steel tank. Jairo pulled out a small flashbang from his backpack, but before he could activate it, a voice boomed from behind the guards. Stand down, now. Everyone froze. From the shadows near the entrance, a tall figure stepped forward. Suit, scar over his left eye, clean-shaven, calm fury in his walk. Marcos Labor. Davi's pulse pounded in his ears. The man walked slowly toward them. No rush, no fear. I see you found our little vault, Labor said, nodding toward the tablet. Camila didn't blink. It's over. Labor smiled coldly. No, he said softly. This is the beginning. He turned to Davy. Do you even know who you are? Who your mother is, what she cost us? Davi stepped forward. She stood for something. Something you're afraid of, Labor chuckled. No, she stood for hope. And hope is the most expensive currency in the world. He nodded to Goatee Guard. Take the drive. Camila whispered, don't give it to them. Davi's hands trembled. The tablet was still on, still connected. Suddenly, Rosa grabbed the boiler valve and yanked it open. Steam hissed into the room, thick and blinding. Jairo launched the flashbang. Chaos exploded. When the fog cleared, the guards were disoriented, coughing. But the tablet was gone. And so was Davi. They'd vanished. Camila was gone too. Only Rosa remained, cornered by Labor. He didn't speak. He just smiled and said, you think you've made them run, but all you've done is give them a reason to fight. He looked at the tablet screen, now black. And somewhere deep in the system, a signal had just been sent to every resident, to the press, to the world. The truth was out, but would anyone believe it? And more importantly, would anyone survive what was coming next? The courtroom wasn't built for cases like this. Too many cameras, too many armed guards, too many eyes. But when a 16-year-old boy brought down a network of corruption tied to political elites, housing authorities, and private security firms, the world stopped pretending. The judge tapped the gavel once. Heavy, final. This session is now in order. The People versus Aurora Heights Holdings, Labor Corporation, and Associates. Defendant's Counsel, are you prepared? Beside the defense bench, Marcos Labor sat calm, still clean-shaven, still confident. His lawyers flanked him, 3 deep. Their suits cost more than most cars, but behind their sharp collars there was fear. Hidden but real, Davi sat across the room, hands folded, shoulders tight. He wore a second-hand blazer Camila had picked up from a thrift shop. It didn't fit perfectly, but it didn't matter. He wasn't here to look polished. He was here to tell the truth. The room buzzed with press and whispers. Everyone knew this story by now. How a boy, just the son of a doorman, had exposed a criminal operation embedded inside one of the wealthiest buildings in the city. How his missing mother had once been one of the top agents in federal intelligence. How his father was taken, threatened, used. And how, against all odds, he survived. But not everyone believed it. "Your Honor," Labor's lawyer began, standing slowly. "The prosecution's entire case hinges on a minor's testimony, paired with stolen materials from private property. Our client is a respected businessman. Any attempt to connect him to espionage, murder, or blackmail is pure speculation." The judge turned to the prosecution bench. Camila stood, adjusting the mic. "Then let's stop speculating." She tapped her tablet. A screen lit up on the wall behind her. First clip, Labor and Honorio in the elevator. Timestamp, 2 hours before Honorio's death. Labor exits alone. Second clip, surveillance logs recovered from 1702's hidden server. Audio, a phone call between Labor and Valentina Mura, discussing cleanup protocol and disposing of the Elias complication. Third clip, Rose's sworn affidavit. The guards' conflicting statements. Davi's original recording, uncut of the attack in the lobby. The courtroom went silent. Davi could feel the energy shift. That invisible force, that weight, tilting ever so slightly in his favor. The judge looked over his glasses. "Is this evidence admissible?" Labor's team objected frantically, but the judge overruled. Then Camila walked to the center of the room. "Your Honor," she said, "with your permission, the prosecution would like to call one more witness." The doors at the back of the courtroom opened. Gasps rippled through the gallery. A woman entered. Black pantsuit. Short, natural curls. A gaze like steel forged in fire. She walked with absolute control, ignoring the stares, the whispers, the flash of cameras. Davi stood slowly. He couldn't stop his mouth from moving. "Mom." Ana Beatriz Ferreira took the witness stand without hesitation. "I was presumed dead," she began, voice steady. "But I was alive, hidden, because men like Labor make women like me disappear when we get too close." She spoke for 7 minutes. She recounted the files, the laundering, the deals hidden behind shell companies linked to housing projects that displaced hundreds of families. She spoke of judges paid in diamonds, officers on payrolls, reporters silenced with bribes or worse. She spoke of what it meant to lose everything for truth. And then she spoke of Davi. "My son was raised without me, because I chose to protect something bigger than myself. But now, he's the one protecting me, protecting all of us." The courtroom was no longer quiet. There were tears, gasps, a woman sobbing quietly in the second row. Even the judge cleared his throat twice before responding. "We will reconvene in 2 hours for closing statements." The gavel came down again. Outside, the press swarmed. But inside, the storm hadn't passed. Because Labor wasn't shaken. As the bailiffs escorted him out, he turned toward Davy. His smile was subtle, but real. "You think this ends here?" he said softly. "There's always another building, another boy." Another silence. Davi met his eyes, didn't blink. "Then I'll be louder next time." Later, back in the empty hallway outside the court, Davi stood beside his mother and Camila. Reporters called through the glass, begging for a statement. But Davi said nothing. He just stared ahead, remembering something his father once told him. Truth is the only weapon they can't uninvent. The hallway lights flickered once. Then again, something was off. Camila noticed it too. She opened her phone. A notification appeared on a private feed. Aurora Heights backup server. Location ping. Active. Someone inside the building was trying to delete everything, but they weren't just erasing files. They were erasing people. And Davi wasn't done fighting. The server room of Aurora Heights was never meant to be found. Buried beneath layers of false blueprints, beyond maintenance tunnels no one dared enter, behind a locked door masked as a breaker panel. That's where the final traces of the truth were hiding. But someone had just accessed it. Camila's phone screen glowed with urgency. Data purge in progress. Estimated time, 6 minutes. Her eyes shot to Davi. We have to move, now. Davi didn't speak. He was already running. They didn't wait for official approval. No press, no guards. Just shadows and silence and stairs that creaked with every rushed step. Ana Beatriz, his mother, moved beside them. Her training kicked in like muscle memory. Every hallway, every corner, she cleared with precision. Davi barely recognized her. She wasn't the ghost who had abandoned him. She was the blade they never saw coming. And now, she was here to cut the rot out for good. They reached sublevel B3. Camila kicked open the maintenance panel. Hyro was already waiting, sweating, hands trembling, holding the tablet with the clone drive. I tried to stall it. The purge code is military grade. They're wiping everything: email backups, fund logs, the resident bribery index, even footage of Anurio's murder. Davi leaned over his shoulder. A countdown blinked in red. 5:41, 5:40. Hyro glanced up. I can't stop the purge, but I can broadcast it before it's gone. Ana's voice was ice. Do it. Hyro tapped furiously. Meanwhile, Camila unzipped a case and pulled out a mobile signal amplifier, placing it on the floor. This will override the blackout. We can hit every news outlet at once, but they'll trace it fast. Davi knelt next to her. Doesn't matter. If it gets out, we win. She paused, searching his face. Not a boy anymore. Just before she flipped the final switch, Ana pulled Davi close. Once we do this, she said softly, there's no going back to normal life. Davi nodded. There never was, Camila whispered. 3, 2. The amplifier lit green. Hyro hit send. All of it: the documents, the wire transfers, the video of Labor exiting the elevator alone, the recorded calls with Valentina Mura, the real-time logs of Davi's arrest. Every secret they fought for was shot into the cloud. Screens lit up across the country. Televisions flickered mid-commercial. News anchors paused their scripts. Social media flooded. A new headline surged across every feed. The boy who unmasked an empire. Inside the courtroom above, Labor's lawyer read the alert mid-sentence and turned pale. The judge received a secure message and recessed without a word. Press members sprinted from the gallery. Outside, a wave had begun. Within 30 minutes, arrests followed. Valentina Mora, pulled from her townhouse. Enrique Toledo, detained at a private airstrip. 3 board members already fleeing were intercepted. Davi, still underground, exhaled for the first time in hours. But the calm didn't last. The hallway light flickered again. This time, it wasn't the system. Footsteps echoed, heavy, measured, goatee guard. And he wasn't alone. 2 men with silenced pistols emerged behind him. No words, just resolve. Hyro flinched. They're coming for the backups. Camila whispered, we need to split. No, Ana said, we finish this. Goatee guard stepped forward. Gun aimed. Put the drives down. Walk away. Davi stood slowly. No, the man cocked the weapon. You're brave, kid. But that's not how this works. Camila raised her hands, but Ana didn't. Instead, she pressed a button on her phone. From the shadows, 2 agents in full tactical gear emerged. Federal reinforcements. Guns drawn, red dots on foreheads. Goatee guard blinked, lowered his weapon. Ana smiled. Now it is. They were arrested on the spot. Later that night, with the storm fading and the lights finally steady again, Davi stood at the rooftop of Aurora Heights. The city stretched endlessly beneath him, no longer distant, no longer off-limits. Beside him, Anna watched in silence. He turned to her. "You knew one day this would happen, didn't you?" She nodded. "I just didn't know it'd be you who finished it." He smiled faintly. "Neither did I." A soft vibration buzzed in his pocket. Another notification. Over 7 million views in 2 hours. The world had seen and believed, but Davi didn't feel like a hero. He just felt free. Behind them, Camila approached. "We got word from the bureau. Your father's safe. He's coming home." That hit harder than anything. Davi looked up at the sky, dark, clear, infinite. He had lost his childhood, his innocence, and 1,000 quiet days he would never get back. But he had found something far more powerful, a voice. And now the world was listening, because the building had fallen, the silence had broken. And the boy they tried to erase was the one who rewrote everything.